Welcome to another edition of Breaking News brought to you by Source Selection Soundbites. Today, we will discuss the case of NFRL LLC, or NFRL, decided by the SBA Office of Hearing and Appeals, or OHA. In this case, the appellant won 2 Phase 2 SBIR awards for a next-generation sniper display and a long-range machine gun sight. NFRL planned to use Lightforce USA as its subcontractor. The contracting officer who made the awards suspected that the subcontractor was too involved in the performance of the requirements to be compliant with SBIR program requirements. Therefore, the CO filed a protest with the SBA, who found the companies to be affiliated for various reasons. Consequently, its teaming agreement was treated as a joint venture. Therefore, each team member had to meet the requirements of majority ownership by a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident alien. The subcontractor, Lightforce, did not meet the requirement because it is majority controlled by an Australian citizen. Given these facts, the awards were determined to be improper. NFRL promptly protested the SBA area office's decision. NFRL contended that NRFL and Lightforce should not be treated as a joint venture for purposes of SBIR ownership and control requirements, because SBA rules say only that a concern and its ostensible subcontractor are treated as joint venturers, and therefore affiliates, for size determination purposes, in accordance with 13 CFR subsection 121.702 C7. NFRL made this argument because the size standard is 500 persons, but these two companies only had a total of 191 employees combined. Therefore, they argued they still met the requirements for size determination purposes, but need not meet the ownership requirements. SBA responded that the applicable regulation instructs that a concern and its ostensible subcontractor are treated as joint venturers and therefore affiliates for size determination purposes, and that the SBIR ownership and control rules are set forth in a separate paragraph of that same regulation. Based on this regulatory framework, then, having found violation of the ostensible subcontractor rule, the area office appropriately treated the appellant and Lightforce as joint venturers for purposes of examining compliance with the SBIR ownership and control provisions of the rule. En route to finding against the appellant, the OHA agreed that the area office treated the appellant and Lightforce as joint venturers for all size purposes as it was supposed to do. However, when a joint venture seeks to participate in the SBIR program, all joint venturers must satisfy the ownership and control requirements of subsection 121.702. Here, there is no dispute that Lightforce cannot meet these requirements as it is ultimately owned and controlled by an Australian citizen. As a result, the area office correctly concluded that the appellant is ineligible for the instant SBIR awards. Consequently, the appeal is denied. Now let's address a few of the lessons learned from this protest. They include: 1. The ostensible subcontractor rule applies to SBIR or STTR contracts and grants. 2. If the SBA determines the prime has an ostensible subcontractor, the parties are treated as affiliates and a joint venture for size purposes. And 3. Once the team configuration is determined to be a joint venture, all JV members must meet ownership and control eligibility requirements. In this episode of Source Selection Soundbites, we discussed the NFRL case and some nuances of the ostensible subcontractor rule when making SBIR awards. This concludes today's Source Selection Soundbite. If this video was helpful, hit the like and subscribe button to ensure you don't miss any new material. If you want more details on the subject, they are available on the Source Selection Answer app. It contains lectures, quizzes, court cases, sample documents, and more material that allows practitioners to quickly obtain actionable knowledge. Thanks for watching. See you next time.